Hello everybody, welcome back to some more early morning barking, talking about BPD and MPD by somebody that has both. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, go on, do it, you know you want to, and follow me on Instagram and stuff like that, because I post pictures of dogs, which are awesome. Today we're doing a bit of a list show, because it's BPD Awareness Month, apparently. I don't know. And so I thought I'd do some BPD things this month. In the future, this is irrelevant information to you. It doesn't matter at all. But right now, it's apparently BPD Awareness Month, and I'm doing BPD videos. This one's going to be a list video. I've never done a list video before. I don't know how I'm going to format it or what it's going to look like. We're quite frankly lucky that I've written anything down. So without further ado, I present to you 8 myths about BPD. Number 1. BPD isn't a real mental illness. It's borderline, right? It's not a real, you're not really mentally ill. You're sort of borderline. And this has the same sort of wording problem as phrases like near miss or barely legal. Borderline. It's not meant to describe what you think it's meant to describe. We're not nearly mentally ill. Okay? This describes as being on the border between neuroses and psychoses, which is a big issue thing to talk about that I need to read more about. But that's what it's for. They've kind of changed the name of it to emotionally unstable personality disorder, which is a far better descriptive term, in my opinion. It's a much better name. Unfortunately, it's a pain in the ass to say. Emotionally unstable personality disorder. It's not as quick and easy as borderline personality disorder, and EUPD is a bit more difficult to say than BPD, and I think there's something else that is EUPD as well anyway, probably not a mental health thing, but we're tending to stick with BPD for some reason, but just because it's got the word borderline in there, it doesn't mean that we're nearly mentally ill. It's definitely a real thing, I promise. 2. It's untreatable. It's not untreatable. I don't know what to tell you. It just isn't. There are lots of different treatments available, and you might need to find the right one that works for you, but it's definitely treatable. Okay? There is hope at the end of this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm doing so much better now than I was 2 years ago before I started treatment. There really is a treatment that you can start and work through and feel better. I'm sitting here as proof of that. The fact that I've not attempted suicide for quite some time. Not had suicidal ideation for quite some time. All of these things. There are still slip-ups on a day-to-day basis. There are still problems to deal with. I'm not cured. I'm dealing with stuff. But this is definitely treatable, right? I don't know how else to sort of put that. It just is. I'm doing it and it's working. So, yeah, definitely treatable. 3. There's only one treatment. There's actually quite a few, which is why I have to say, find the one that works for you. I started off, somebody offered me DBT. And for so long, people were talking about DBT. You just need DBT treatment or CBT. There's a difference because of the letters in the alphabet. And I tried CBT early on, before this possibility, when I was just sort of depressed all the time, because it took me a very long time to get to the diagnosis that I'm at now. And I sort of had a brief encounter with CBT and found it to be next to useless for me. And so everybody that I spoke to was talking about DBT all the time. And I've never actually had any. I ended up in group therapy, which is a talking therapy, obviously. You sit around and talk about stuff. And I found that fantastically useful. That is the thing that has helped me out, that has got me here alive and well and feeling like there is an end to all of this. It might not work for you. It didn't work for everybody in my group. People have left the group because they didn't feel it was right for them, that it wasn't working or whatever, that they weren't comfortable in those surroundings. There's lots of reasons why that might not work for you, but that doesn't mean that you can't be treated or that there isn't an alternative therapy that can work. I'm not best placed to give you options, right? I'm an idiot on the internet with a camera and a microphone. You need to speak to an actual medical professional. And hopefully if you're in a system of treatment, then you'll be having that opportunity to talk about and find out about these different types of treatment. But if it's something that you're still looking at getting into, don't be put off by hearing about a particular type of treatment and then deciding that's not for you, so maybe you're just stuck and have to struggle through. There are alternatives. And there'll be further alternatives that I haven't really talked about today. But they are out there. 4, it only affects women. Either I haven't got BPD or I'm a woman, and neither of those feel true. So it must affect men as well. Here's the thing, right? It kind of tends to play out of us in different ways. Women tend to be more internal as they express themselves. It shows up in a lot more of anxiety and stress and that kind of thing. However, men tend to be sort of loud and shouty and more ragey and more breaky things and potentially violent and all these other things. They can look very different. And the way that men tend to rage, can make this BPD look like something else. Don't forget, this is a very difficult thing to diagnose. And even when things are looking very certain, you might get a therapist or somebody that is reluctant to literally say, yes, you have BPD, because it's so hard to diagnose. Because there are so many traits in this, because we all act them out differently. It has been the historical truth sort of that more women tend to get diagnosed with BPD than men. However, that doesn't mean that it either only affects women or disproportionately affects women. As better data is coming out, as better diagnosis methods are coming along and various things like that, then we're starting to see that the split is probably closer to 50-50, which makes sense basically. 5, we're all the same. So there are 9 traits of BPD. And in order to be classed as having BPD, you only need to have 5 of them. That means that there's 126 possible different combinations of 5 traits of 9 characteristics of BPD. So you could have 126 different people in a room all suffering from diagnosed BPD, and none of them would be the same. They'd all have different problems relating to different things. That's why this is so hard to diagnose, right? That's why this is difficult, because we are all so different. This does all play out in the same way. When I'm in group, I'm not sat with a group of other people who have the same problems I have, because there might not actually be someone within this local area that has the exact same problems that I have, and identifying that individual and finding enough individuals like that to have a group would probably be impossible. And so we all get treated as a group. We have overlapping things. Some things are similar. We share particular traits, but by and large, all of us are completely different. We're all there with our own thing to deal with. So we're not all the same. Totally different. Honestly, totally different. 6, people with BPD are manipulative and attention seeking. No. Look, a lot of the time, the thing that we're going through is horrific. We feel awful, or whatever we're feeling at the time, and we feel it a lot. And we don't like our behavior. We don't want to do it. We don't decide to do it. We don't do it to manipulate anyone else. Anything we do as a result of the BPD is actually a result of reaction to internalized emotional pain. We aren't manipulative. We aren't trying to get sympathy. Well, maybe we need help. Maybe we're being failed in some way from a point of view of support, but to be manipulative, to just be seeking attention, there are easier, less painful ways of doing that, I'm telling you. This is a painful thing to live with and to go through on a daily basis. The idea that we're just doing it to get your attention. I mean, there's a little bit of get over yourself in that as well. Right? I mean, the things you would have to go through to keep this up if it were a lie. The amount of drama and lying in your life that would have to be part of your day-to-day to make this up and carry this off as a lie. It's just astounding. And probably an indication of a much more severe psychopathic mental illness, probably. I don't know. But no, we're not seeking your attention. We might be seeking help, but general attention, no, that's not what we're after right now. 7, suicide threats aren't serious. Yes, they fucking are. Don't think for 1 second that if you hear somebody with BPD talking about suicide, that it is part of this manipulation and attention-seeking thing that some people seem to think exists. No. This is very serious and should be treated as such, without hesitation, without exception. We can look at the psychological reasons behind that, and you can decide what you think about those, but to say that these things aren't real, that threats aren't meant to be carried out, that's not the case. I mean, speaking personally about it, my own feelings of suicidal ideation weren't to threaten somebody else. They weren't there to make somebody else feel bad. The fact that other people did feel bad about them was a hindrance to me. I would have been a lot happier, if you want to look at it that way, if no one cared, if no one paid attention, because what I wanted to do was get on and end my life. And you have these people that stand in your way because they love and care about you. You've got family that would be distraught if something bad happened to you. You might have a partner or children whose lives would be turned upside down, to say the least, if something were to happen to you. And when you want to end your own life, they're not people that you're threatening with this. They're not people that you're manipulating or trying to get their attention. They're in your way. They're stopping you. They're representing the guilt that you feel for wanting to do what you want to do. Because all you're concerned about at that time is wanting this pain to come to an end. And you've reached a point where nothing feels like that can be possible. This pain can't end, therefore I have to end myself. Otherwise, existence is pain. And the idea that that's not serious, that is so serious. Because people will do a lot of things to end a constant and long pain. Of any kind. I mean, look at the drugs people take to end a physical pain. And when we're talking about an internalized mental emotional pain that is seemingly never ending, that is preventing you from having a life anyway, then it's not a long jump to get to this suicidal ideation and think, well, I need to end this. It's not a threat. And dear God, is it serious? It must always be taken seriously. And I know it's the difficult side of mental illness, right? I know that there's a lot of talk online of you've got to be an ally, you've got to support people. And I personally am on the side of believing that, yeah, we've got to support people, and people say, oh, well, we're always there to talk. And I think, no, you fucking not. There's a limit to what people want to take in when it comes to dealing with this. They're happy with the light, fluffy side of mental illness. But when we start digging down in the weeds with suicidal ideation, it becomes a very difficult and unpleasant thing for people to deal with. Some brave people can do that and are amazing. But it's difficult. But always take these threats seriously. It's not a threat. I hate using that word now. That's how I feel about it. It's just such a sad and serious thing that for it to be a myth that it's not serious is quite distressing. 8. People with BPD aren't capable of love. No. Of course we bloody are. Most of this stuff is based on fear of losing things that we love, or things happening to people and things that we love. We love things so much and so deeply. I don't know where this myth could come from, that we aren't capable of it. I understand that we can be volatile. That's the whole thing with BPD, right? And we can feel good or bad about stuff at different points. We can split on things and people and activities. We can split on all kinds of stuff. But to say that we're not capable of love, wow. That's just so horrible. We have such great empathy. There's a great depth of feeling there. If anything, I would say that people with BPD are especially capable of feeling love. More so than a lot of people. And it's feeling that love that causes us so much distress sometimes. I'm not afraid of being abandoned by people I hate. I don't catastrophize about bad things happening to enemies and people I don't care about. It's all about people I love. It's the driving force behind all of it. And God, even the negative things, it's all so driven by wanting to love and needing to be loved. While it's distressing to be around sometimes, it can be so loving and so caring and just so almost unconditional. If anything, it might be easy to take advantage of that. Please don't. But no, trust me when I say we're very, very capable of love. So there you go. There's my 8 myths on BPD. I hope you found that useful and informative. It just made me a bit sad, to be perfectly honest. Oh dear, I'm okay, don't worry. You're fine too, please. Honestly, it's all right. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye.